What's going on?
Hey Thomas, are you ready to drive the new Skyactiv X Mazda Speed 3?
I thought it wasn't out yet.
Well, it is, and I've got your winning lottery ticket. And the fourth Indiana Jones movie never happened. And I made a song for you. It goes like this.
You're watching Throttle House. I'm Thomas.
And I'm James. And recently we put the Mazda 3 front-wheel drive sedan against a Hyundai Elantra, and we leaned towards the Mazda.
But today we have the all-wheel drive hatch, and the hype for this car is huge. So we want to see if it can stack up against something that we already know is great.
The Honda Civic Sport Touring Hatchback. Now, we reviewed this recently against the new Toyota Corolla hatchback, and we found it to be the more engaging of the two. And since the announcement of the Mazda 3 all-wheel drive hatch, we've been keen to make this comparison happen. The cars you see today are only $310 apart. The Civic is a little bit lighter than the Mazda and has a 1.5 litre turbocharged engine. Those two things in combination make it a faster car on paper. Okay, so we don't get to put any of the power to the rear wheels in the Civic, but on a welcomingly dry day like today, I'm hoping I don't feel such a disadvantage.
So yes, this Mazda 3 has all-wheel drive. Whether or not you need that for everyday driving, we will explore later. But for right now, just look at this thing. It's truly gorgeous. And with an interior that could make a McLaren tip its hat, this car seems like it might be the perfect all-around package. So today we are going to compare every aspect we can to see if someone can finally dethrone the mighty Honda Civic.
But before we get started, make sure to subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and hit the notification bell so that you see our videos as soon as they come out. Also, if you want to see what we're filming before it goes live on YouTube, follow us on Instagram at The Throttle House.
All right, the brand new Mazda 3 all-wheel drive hatch. This is a very big deal, this car. There is so much hype surrounding this thing, and I'm gonna do my best to unpack that right now.
Okay, in the Honda Civic, 180 horsepower, 1.5 litre turbocharged with 177 pound-feet of torque, delivered through a CVT. And the drone of a CVT, hearing the drone of a CVT is about as welcome as hearing "is Pepsi okay" when you're asking for a Coca-Cola. It's not great.
Okay, this has an all-wheel drive system, which is your standard kind of front-wheel drive based all-wheel drive system. Drive shaft going to the back, clutch pack there that can engage the rear wheels when needed, mostly front-wheel drive. What this car does have is an all-wheel drive system that integrates with all of Mazda's fancy electronics, with their G-vectoring control and all that, which reads things like steering inputs and throttle inputs and a whole bunch of stuff to give you an all-wheel drive system that reacts with you as a driver. It will actually allow the rear tires to have more power if you're driving more aggressively, so that you can still kind of have fun, which is really good. Now, that's something that you're only going to notice if it's snowy. Right now, it is bone dry and sunny, and I can tell you that there is no hint of this being an all-wheel drive vehicle. So you do have to take that into account. It's an important thing to know, because if you want the all-wheel drive, you want it because you want the traction in the snow. But the thing that I've come to realize is that you only truly need that for, like, let's say maybe 30 days a year in Canada at the most. For a large amount of the population of North America, front-wheel drive is fine. Keep that in mind.
Okay, so we're in front-wheel drive and the Mazda technically has an advantage, but let's see if this wheel spins when I floor it. Oh, I actually did lose a bit of traction there. Okay. No wheel spin at all. You have to listen to the CVT, but no wheel spin. In normal dry conditions, the front-wheel drive hasn't been an issue. I don't feel the need for all-wheel drive. You know, neither of these cars have much power, but this is turbocharged, and I've been living with it for a week, and honestly, I'm not hungering for power the way I remember hungering for power when I was driving the Mazda 3 sedan a few weeks ago.
All right, we're gonna do a launch. A little bit of brake, foot down, off we go. So the wheels didn't spin at all. The reason the wheels didn't spin at all is not because it's all-wheel drive. It's because it doesn't have any power. And here's one of the issues I have with this car. This Skyactiv G engine, I'm so over it. I liked it when I drove the front-wheel drive version of this. I think the car was maybe a little bit lighter. But in this car, honestly, it's underpowered. It really, really, really is underpowered. It needs a turbocharger, or it needs a Skyactiv X engine that magically has more power, which it might not, we'll see. Either way, I can tell you that this car feels slow. And that is such a bummer, because I and everybody else wanted this to kind of be a little Mazda Speed 3 all-wheel drive hot hatch thing, and it's just not that.
The torque comes on really quickly and it pulls really well. I remember the first time I drove one of these, I was surprised about how close the performance felt compared to the SI. Okay, so we are in sport mode. So this has paddle shifters, which on a CVT gearbox always feels weird to me, but you can use them, I guess. That feels fun. It gives you a bit more control over the gearing. Okay, it's easy to hate on the CVT, but when you think about a CVT, the CVT in this, you've got to think about it's not a Nissan from 2008. This is improved. This is different. The reason the CVT is good in this, and why you might get it instead of a manual, is because with a small turbocharged engine, the CVT allows you to stay in boost. And yes, it might drone a bit, but there's value in that.
All right, so the engine is very naturally aspirated. It doesn't have, it's 186 horsepower, 186 torque. It doesn't even feel that much, I'll be honest. Now, I do have a 6-speed transmission, which has good things and bad things. The good things are that it has obvious gear ratios, which I do like. I don't like a CVT gear ratio. This is very clearly, I can shift them myself manually, which is cool. Things that I don't like about it is that first gear and second gear are too tall. So when I go around a corner, like a rolling corner in the city, I downshift into first gear if I want any torque coming out of it. And second gear is 100 kilometers an hour. I think that the gearing should have been a little bit shorter, and it would have made the car feel peppier.
So while Thomas has the torsion beam rear suspension in his, this has multi-link rear suspension. And to me, the ride in this is really good. I've been living with this car around town. It feels great. It soaks up bumps better than I thought it would. I thought that this would be a harsher ride. Since getting out of like a Nissan Maxima a week ago, everything feels soft, but this feels good, really livable. And the chassis of the car communicates with you enough that it still feels sporty. I think it earns that sport touring name.
Okay, now where the Mazda 3 all-wheel drive hatch comes into its own, and this is the most impressive part of it by a long way, is the insulation and the ride. It's so smooth and quiet in here. It is absolute, like, German levels of luxury car, smooth and quiet in here. I love the way that this car rides.
All right, so throwing this into some corners on this back road, it feels really good. The steering's quite light, but it feels really accurate. This has active handling, agile assist thing. They call it AHA. And what it does, it's kind of like a brake vectoring thing, although Honda say that you don't feel it so much as that you just experience more smooth driving. So finally, it's my turn to say that I don't feel anything, Melissa. All right, on the up and up. Yeah, this car feels good. It feels lively. There's like an energy to going around these corners that I don't think the Mazda has. There's not much steering feel through the wheel, but I can feel it in the chassis and in my seat. It's fun. It's genuinely a fun car.
Okay, diving into some corners now. The steering ratio is a little bit too slow for me. And other than when you really push the car through the corner, you don't feel the steering weight at any other point. The steering kind of comes alive when you really start to push the car aggressively, but at any other point, it kind of just, it just feels a little bit dead. There's no feedback really. Okay, Mazda's all about having a little bit of body lean in their corners as part of their philosophy. It allows you to feel the weight transfer in the car, which is good for the most part. But with a slower steering ratio, the front end of this car to me feels a little bit loopy. In a Miata, it makes sense because the car's so tiny and darty. But this car, it doesn't feel quite as sharp and as athletic as I want it to. It's fine. It's very well controlled, and the G vectoring, you can feel it working once you're looking for it. You feel it kind of back off, and it keeps the weight over the front of the car, and it really just sends you on a very predictable line to the corner. It's good, but it's not really exciting.
Also living with it, I've got to know the infotainment a bit. It is a bit dated, but once you get into the Apple CarPlay or Android Auto bit, it doesn't matter, it works perfectly. And I think that's something, I'm getting infotainment blindness these days because I immediately just go to Apple CarPlay, and as long as that works, I don't really care what the rest of the infotainment looks like. Which is why all cars now need Apple CarPlay and Android Auto. apart from the Corolla, which competes with these cars, and it still doesn't have Android Auto. But the gauge cluster is easy to read, it's digital in the middle, it shows my fuel economy. I've been doing 6.4 litres per 100 kilometers. I'm incredibly comfortable. These seats are really like soft and bolstered at the same time, which is a beautiful combination.
So living with this car has actually been really, really nice. Like driving in a straight line is easy. I have a heads-up display, the Civic doesn't. I do have adaptive cruise control, which I go here and I go set. However, the way that I select the distance to the car in front of me is just about the least well-explained thing in the world. So it shows me an arrow and then the car in front of me and then the car that I am, but there's no indication of if that means how close I am to the car or if it will allow it doesn't make any sense. I had to do it by trial and error. And James has true like lane keep assist, like the autopilot version of it that will actually keep you in the middle of the lane and steer for you. This doesn't have that. It has the type where once you start to cross over the line, it bumps you back into the lane and you'll just end up doing this and then lose control if you're able to keep your hands off of it. So I kind of wish that it had like a proper full-on assist on the highway. That would have made it a little bit nicer to cruise with. All right, I'm gonna go meet James so we can talk about the styling.
All right.
Styling.
No, let's not talk about styling. Why would you talk about styling?
Because this is the most beautiful car of the year.
Yeah?
It absolutely is. I think it is.
I think it looks really good.
Stunning.
It looks like a blueberry. Like the grey blue on the outside and the purple on the inside.
Blueberry.
But the front's really nice.
Okay.
You know what this front is though?
What?
This is the world's biggest argument against front license plates.
It absolutely is.
Get rid of them.
I'm so used to looking through it. But like, yeah, you're right. This needs to go.
Yeah.
Because this is such a lovely piece of design right
The
here.
lights are really nice.
Yes.
Side profile.
Move around to the back. Okay, so this zone.
You know what this C in the C bit stands for on this?
What?
Controversy.
The column of controversy?
The column of controversy.
That's what this is? Okay.
I think it looks good. It reminds me of a Seat Leon Cupra, which my mum used to have in England because she's a boss.
I don't even know what that looks like. We'll put a picture up though.
Yeah.
This, to me, is totally fine. Everyone has a problem with this. I think this car looks good from every single angle.
But you do bump your head on the door now.
Yeah, the downside is that this is like really sloped and that's narrow.
Yeah.
And the window's small. But
you're fine. You got brain cells to lose. You know when you slap your head.
Thank you.
Well, I insult you all the time.
You do insult me all the time, so that was a weird change of pace. Can we look at the trunks of these? The
Yeah.
boots, the hatches.
You're in trouble. This is way bigger.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
That's
mean, it is a longer car.
So? It's not even in the same universe.
Yeah, no, this is bigger.
That is way, way, way bigger. Wow, okay. That is a full hard point to the Civic.
Yeah.
Yeah, then this looks cooler in the back end, but like,
Both got 2 exhausts.
wow.
These
Yeah.
These are quite fat.
And they are nice actual tips, which is nice.
Let's gloss over these fake vents. And it is a Civic.
It's a Civic.
Yeah, it's nearing the time where it needs a refresh, but I think it still looks okay. Compared to the Civic Type R, this is understyled. Compared to everything else on the road, it's overstyled.
However, this wins by a landslide victory. Do you agree?
In exterior styling, I agree. It looks new. This needs a refresh now.
Yes. Interior?
Yep.
Speaking of things that have been refreshed.
Yeah. And refreshed it is.
What's
Can
refreshed?
Everything.
So the volume knob.
Just the volume knob,
Just
yeah.
the
It's got a volume knob
the only
now.
thing that's changed, yeah.
Yeah.
I can't believe they listened.
They listened.
We literally complained everyone did.
Yeah.
Complained.
So it just turns out if you say that something's not here, Honda put it in. Which reminds me, this is missing $1 million in the glove compartment. Otherwise, yeah, it's pretty standard fare.
Yeah, like this is so much better, honestly. You actually I had to remind you this when refreshed. You're like, oh yeah, I was just taking it for granted because I've just been using it.
Yes, I do like the volume knob.
For all those that said
you were able to turn it up on the steering wheel, okay? And we
Yeah,
got
but it
some
was a
time.
clicky thing. It was
Yeah.
clicky. It was stupid.
These buttons are okay. They're functional, but they feel a bit cheap now.
They've also been changed. That was ridged before, and it is not ridged now.
Oh, that's true.
Yeah,
that's true.
That's weird, right?
And then the adaptive cruise control, to turn it on, you press the word main.
That's weird. What does that even mean?
I'm sure there's an explanation, but
Okay.
it feels really weird.
Otherwise,
yeah, digital display is nice. in the
seats are
middle.
really good. I do like that.
Yeah, this thing is cavernous. Like compared to the Mazda, there's so much space.
Yeah, honestly.
It feels like a bus inside compared to the Mazda.
It really, really does. The driving position's good too in this. I do like it.
Yeah.
Room for your knees. Seats are comfortable. These are the leather because we're in the sport touring, right? The little fake carbon fiber on the dashboard.
And the back is super comfy.
Yeah. Want to go sit in the back seat?
Yeah.
Let's do that.
All right.
Hey, you got heated seats back here.
Yes, I do. Do you have
Low
that?
And I don't have that.
Yeah,
No,
there
it's
you
pretty
go.
good. Legroom's really good back here. Tons
Really
of
good,
legroom.
Really good.
Arm room. Headroom is fine. There's a little thing.
Headroom's good if you duck down.
Yeah,
There's otherwise a ridge.
There's a ridge that digs into the back of your head, which is very strange. But otherwise, this is good.
Yeah, very nice.
Mazda.
Yep. Oh yeah.
This is very nice. Honestly.
Really nice.
Okay, I'm gonna do a couple things that I don't like first, and the rest is basically good. This thing sticks out too far into my knee. I don't like that. I don't feel like I have as much physical room as I do in the Civic, right? Like it's too cramped. Also, dark interior is not nearly as good as the white interior in terms of kind of making this feel spacious.
So I feel you on one of those things. So I agree the white interior was really, really nice, but much more luxury.
Yeah.
I don't have the issue with the seating position and the space that you do.
I find these seats too narrow as well. Honestly, I feel cramped in this car. I don't like it as much as being in the Civic. Okay, now everything else is pretty much perfect.
We will gloss over,
the gloss.
pun intended, the piano black.
Which is where you touch.
The Bose looks really awesome and sounds great.
It sounds very good. Visually, the interior of this design piece right here is absolutely stunning. New infotainment is absolutely fantastic.
Not a touchscreen, because Mazda want you to stay safe, and they've worked out that when you touch something, you follow the finger with your eyes, which is probably true.
Which is true. At the same time, though, I vehemently disagree with that, because when you are in Apple CarPlay, which is obviously an app-based touch program, which is the majority of the things that you use, when you go into Apple CarPlay, you have to look to click, and then select. If it was Apple CarPlay, I just go, boop, done. Steering wheel is absolutely fantastic. This is one of the nicest design. If there was a Porsche logo right here, I would go, that makes sense. The digital gauge in the center is very, very nice. I can change what it looks like, and it looks analog, and it looks real. But then you're like, oh, it's digital, and it changes. Yeah,
that's a smarter way of doing it than the...
Yeah,
the Honda has the same thing. It just looks a bit more dated now.
But the interior of this is so clean and calming. It's really, really nice. That said, I would still definitely take the white in terms of that.
But this doesn't have... Why does this not have ventilated seats? It has like...
It does not have ventilated seats.
It has perforations in the seats as though...
I know. Unless there's a weird way of turning them on that I haven't found, that is a heated seat right there. And
you just go underneath and go...
No, honestly, this is a really good interior. It's beautiful. There's a few things that don't agree with me personally, but that could be a me problem.
Everything's soft.
Everything is soft, but...
Like it feels comfy.
It's
we said this when we had the sedan. It was like, just look at it, don't
It's kind of a little skin deep, honestly. It's not super... Like this. Look at the whole door panel. The whole thing flexes, so...
But how often are you flexing a door panel? You flex more on Instagram than you do on the door panel.
No, I don't.
See, he doesn't even flex, that's what I'm saying. Thomas is a very humble guy.
All right, back seats. I'm so humble.
Watch out! Watch out! I've got it all! Okay.
Okay.
All right.
Okay, this is way more claustrophobic than the Civic.
The legroom is... Well, the knee room is worse.
The lateral legroom is worse.
And the lateral headroom.
The lateral headroom and lateral shoulder room.
But otherwise, the headroom above you
vertically, that's
the
the only way that's the same, and there's no heated seats.
Yeah, it definitely feels more claustrophobic in here. Yeah. I wish they'd done a glass roof back here.
Yeah, that would open it up.
That would make it feel more.
That would open it up
like
a lot.
A Tesla Model 3 type.
Yeah. Honestly, this just doesn't have the same interior space that does in any part. It's visually better.
If backseat passengers are a priority, the Civic wins.
Easily. Yep. All right, the Civic. So in normal circumstances, putting the power down, you don't notice the lack of all-wheel drive. It's only if you stomp the throttle right off the line, which I'm sure James showed you, then it will lose its wheels a little bit. But honestly, for day-to-day living, it doesn't really matter that much. And that's kind of my thing right now that I've realized.
In the Mazda 3, all right, immediate thoughts are I have less power or less torque, and this seat's not as comfortable. But more importantly, the difference in like NVH and smoothness is crazy. This thing is lovely compared to that Civic.
All right, so what do I notice right away? Well, the access to low down torque is so welcome in a little economy car like this. It just allows you to get up and go quicker. The CVT is a CVT. It is honestly the right choice for this car, in my opinion. I wouldn't get the manual. If this was the SI, yes, get the manual, but it's not. It's just the everyday version of the Civic, so get the CVT. It's completely fine. It's not like CVTs in some cars. Maxima.
This feels very similar to the Camry Accord comparison we did recently, where the Camry was like the refined, chilled version, and the Accord was more fun. So, well, let's see if that's true. Let's go through these corners. God, this engine feels sluggish. Doesn't even sound that good. Like the CVT in the Civic doesn't sound worse than this. I know that's an insult to both cars, but if sound's important, one is not better than the other.
Just to reiterate, this interior for me is so much more comfortable. I like the extra space around my knees and my head. It feels like I could live in this car for longer. But diving into some corners. Now here's what Honda does just really, really well. Front end engagement, chassis engagement, everything just feels good. It feels communicative. I know what's going on. It's fun. It's exciting. I can feel the car start to rotate a little bit. The fact that it doesn't have all-wheel drive, please do not think that you're going to be power sliding around corners because the Mazda sends a little bit of power to the rear wheels. This is going to give you as much excitement chucking it around an autocross course were you to do that as that Mazda will, period.
When you knock it down into drive and you just want to cruise, it's so calm. It's so quiet. And that is worth a lot to me, I think. Okay, putting around the same corner in the Civic, I lost the traction in the wheels because it's front wheel drive. God, they have to turn so much. Okay, let's try it again. Yeah, this thing holds. And I don't know whether I can credit that to the all-wheel drive or the fact that there's just no power, but I didn't lose traction in the same place where I did in the Civic. And if this all-wheel drive system is as good as the one in the CX-5, then this is a really good car for the snow because it managed that so well when we tested it.
Usually we'd end here with some voiceover and stuff, but we're actually going to meet up again because we need to chat about this because this is such a difficult choice to make and we want to settle this properly.
Okay.
I don't know what to do here.
I wanted this to be a no-brainer. Like, I wanted this to win everything in the world, like including my heart and my family, and it hasn't.
It's just not, I don't know. The engine lets it down. Like the 0 to 60 time, we timed it just briefly and it was like 10 seconds.
Yeah, it's too slow.
There's 80s cars that are faster than that.
It's too slow. And I just wonder from a value perspective, this is 33 grand, right?
Yes.
Whatever it is in US dollars.
Yeah.
That's 33 grand.
Yes.
You can pick up a Golf GTI for 33 grand.
You can get a Golf GTI.
You can get a fully decked out Jetta GLI, which we just drove at Taylor the Dragon and
loved. It is better than these in every conceivable way. I'm sorry, but it is.
I wonder, so then you're like, okay, but this has all-wheel drive. So
okay.
Does that mean it's worth 33? The WRX has all-wheel drive.
Yes. This is nicer. It is aged, I don't know.
But
this is still really fun to drive. Between these two, I don't even know which one I would take.
That's more fun, but the refinement of this is amazing.
It is.
At 25, the new engine, if the new engine takes longer to come out than this does to get to 100 kilometers an hour, you've lost me.
We actually debated for a long time, and truth be told, we barely came to a conclusion. But here is our recommendation. If you need all-wheel drive, the new Mazda 3 is a very good option, but you might be better off with the front-wheel drive manual version and a fresh set of snow tires for the winter. It's fun, cheap, but still very nice, and a bit lighter. The Civic is still a fantastic option, and you won't be disappointed. But if it was our money, we would probably buy a base GTI, because, well, it's a GTI. So there you go. While the new Mazda 3 all-wheel drive is very good, for it to be a no-brain option, it needs a few minor tweaks. Or better yet, Mazda, just bring back the Speed 3 with all-wheel drive. That would end this argument. And yes, we do know that our conclusion here is against the grain of public opinion on the Mazda 3, and that did register with us.
Well, this was fun.
I think we did this right.
But this was fun. We're done now.
Yeah.
I'll find a different career.
Yeah, it's okay. You have lots of us.
I'm fine.
I'm going to go back to teaching. It was a good job.